migrants be housed in tents instead of hotels? Reform UK's first mayor, Dame Andrea Jenkyns, used her victory speech to call for an end to soft-touch Britain.
We will tackle illegal migration. We've been working on policies. I say no to putting people in hotels. Tents are good enough for France. They should be good enough for here in Britain.
However, we've spoken to Reform UK. It's not their official policy. It's just Andrea's own idea. Right now, housing migrants in hotels is still estimated to cost the taxpayer more than £8 million every day. And a new record for small boat arrivals was set in April, with the number passing 10,000 at the earliest date in a year since records began. So would using tents instead of hotels help cut down on costs? Lizzie, does that make sense to you? When you heard that, did you put up a cheer and say, that makes sense to me?
Yeah, I did, actually. And I think we have to do something drastic. I mean, we are bursting at the seams. We've just had the numbers of the amount of boats that are coming over. We've got Keir Starmer saying, you know, let's smash the gangs. He couldn't even smash the egg, you know, egg this morning, of his boiled egg. Look, we really have to do something serious and drastic, because the numbers are going up and up and up. And we see with the nice weather, the boats are coming over thick and fast. We need to do something. I'm sorry. And it's right. If it's happening in France, why can't it happen here? It's costing us over I think it's 8.5 million a day in hotels. And look, in my lovely little village, we have a hotel, and it's now full of migrants. The school next door are scared. They don't want the parents don't want the children walking past. It's a real worry.
Do you think she's really thought it through, what that means? Migrants with families, sometimes young children, living in tents in this country where there's often snow on the ground. Do you think she's thought that through? Because it's not even Reform's own policy. It's her idea.
Well, it is her idea. But what she's saying is we've got to get tough. I think, look how we built the Nightingale hospitals. We built them in like three days. Why can't we do that in a remote area? You know, we've got UK territories. We could build them, and sort it, and then go through that sort of process. We can't keep. There aren't any hotels left. There's no hotels to do, you know, the usual weddings and parties. They're full of migrants. We can't keep going like we're going. As I said, we're only a small island. We're bursting at the seams. We can't keep going as we can. And you can see in the local elections, the big worry of everyone is the migration problem, immigration. That is everyone's big worry. And this is why Nigel's Reform did so well in the local elections.
I mean, there is a reason that Andrea Jenkyns was elected mayor in Lincolnshire. Lincolnshire, for a lot of people, has changed drastically over the last couple of decades, really.
Yeah, but it's not just because of migrants that people are voting the way they have voted in recent days. It's also because of the cost of living crisis. It's also because people broadly aren't as faithful to the old party structure. And one of the reasons why this is not Reform's official policy is that it's not being thought through. It's a half-baked idea. Since when did we look to France for ideas like this? When you look at those when you look at those encampments in France, the one called the Jungle, or in Greece, or in Italy, they look terrible. They're often havens of disease like diphtheria, scabies. There's no infrastructure. There's often real tension among the migrants. People are thrown together in very close proximity. We don't want to replicate that here in this country. I agree something needs to be done about the huge cost of hotels, and I believe the government is looking at alternatives, including letting private landlords put up their homes or their properties, which would cost £14 a day instead of £150 a day. We're able to roll out the red carpet for the Ukrainians whose country was invaded, but other people, like from Afghanistan, Syria and elsewhere, who are genuinely fleeing persecution, who are at the top of the numbers of people coming into this country, including from spawn bulls, we don't do very much for them. We don't allow them to work.
People are voting about migration. I mean, that was a key reason that people
because it's been hugely inflated, including parts of the country where there are very few migrants, or almost no migrants, because it's out there, it's on social media, and Nigel Farage has very successfully raised it up the top of the agenda.
You don't think it's a real concern?
But no, it's a concern.
When you get asylum seekers living in a hotel in the middle of a community, you don't think that that's
No,
disruptive?
of course it's concerned.
actually
But
respond to that?
in some cases, people are making up incidents when they're investigated. So the alleged attempt to speak to young girls never actually happened. But people put things on social media to try and inflame tensions, to try and get Tommy Robinson and his friends down there and cause further tension.
No. People are genuinely worried about this country. You know,
people were worried about this country.
They've paid their taxes all their life, and then people. Let me speak.
People were saying exactly the same in the 60s when my parents came here.
But look at the figures. Yeah. Look, we've nearly got 11,000 boats coming over this year. Keir Starmer's got the worst record as a Prime Minister with illegals coming over. He said he'd smash the gangs.
He's been in power for 10 months.
He's not been able to smash the ice of a garden pond. He's not doing what he said. People are sick of the slogans, sick of the Conservative Party as well, with the lies they told. Stop the boats. It didn't happen. And reform, you can see in the local elections why people are voting for them, because they're listening. People have had enough. It's our taxpayers' money that is going into this, 8 million a day.
When the solutions that are being put forward are as quickly thought through, let's not say poorly thought through, but when they're not even the policy of reform, and yet the newly elected mayor has come up with this idea, clearly as a way to win votes, doesn't that can't inspire confidence that they've got the answer any more than the Tories or Labour?
Andrea said this as a suggestion, hasn't she? It's what she feels, and I actually quite agree with her. Look, Reform are quite clear.
They want French policy.
They want to leave the ECHR. Let's not talk about the French. We gave them $500 million. They haven't got their feet wet.
But it's not French policy to house migrants in tents.
But others,
she's not telling the truth.
Other countries have done it. Okay, and I don't.
Where
are they to go? Where are we?
Okay, Lizzie, let me ask you.
The hotels are running out.
Where would these encampments? Where would you put these encampments? What would you do about infrastructure? Okay, how long would you keep people? Would you put them behind razor wire? How would it work?
I've just said we could build like the Nightingale hospitals, which was done very easily.
Tents,
we have UK, but we can build that. We can do something like that.
People weren't living there.
We've got the British Navy. Let's do something more.
You know what we should do?
Because we've been a
what we should do. What we should do is look at those countries. No.
Like
those countries from which people come, where there is no war and broadly no sense of persecution, like with Albania. There's a presumption that you will not get asylum, and the figures with Albania drop by 90%. You have to do that with some other countries as well.
Well, look what's going on in Poland and other countries, Denmark.
Let's hear what's happening out there. Lorraine, what do you reckon? You're in Northamptonshire. Is this something that affects you where you live?
It does. But it's breathtaking listening to that lady talking on your programme just now. Bottom line, before Brexit, we could return them to France. Now we can't. So what's that achieved? That was Farage. Okay. He's ruined this country.
It wasn't actually Farage. It was the
Conservative.
Yes, it was. It was the Conservative government that didn't execute
Farage.
Brexit properly.
Okay.
They didn't do what they should have done.
Okay, Lorraine. When you hear the idea of migrants being housed in tents, what does that say to you?
How about we put Reform Party into tents this winter, all of them, for the entire winter, and I defy one of them afterwards to still say, let's put the migrants into tents. Where are you going to put the toilets, the showers, the hygiene?
What does it say to you, Lorraine, what does it say to you about the way that Andrea Jenkyns, because she's the only one that's come up with this so far, it's not reform policy, the way that Andrea Jenkyns regards people who've come to this country seeking asylum?
Well, she's the one who put the finger up, wasn't she, to the public? That says it all. She should never be in a public position. Sorry.
But she was voted in. That's what, we live in a democratic country. She's the first mayor for reform.
Is it democratic to tell
It was voted.
Like
people are worried about immigration. Sorry, 8.5 million a day for taxpayers' money. People are worried, and they've voted because they're worried.
Do you think, Lizzie, that this says something about human rights and reform, or Andrea Jenkyns or Reform's view about human rights? This is being linked to leaving the European Convention for Human Rights and saying, does this say that migrants don't have human rights? No, they don't deserve them?
Look, we need a deterrent. We need to stop them doing the terrible journey over the Channel.
But
we haven't got one.
Lizzie,
this government gave away Rwanda.
Isn't the biggest deterrent processing people quickly, and if they don't have a well-founded fear of persecution under the convention, they return to the country that they came from. Isn't it better to allow people to apply in an organised way, the way the Ukrainians did, if not in Britain, but in a country close to the one they're fleeing from? But we haven't set up those safer routes for people with a well-founded fear of persecution. We're a beacon of human rights. We tell the world we're the best country in the world.
We are.
Let's act it then.
But we are.
But putting people into tents,
We've been
that's the kind of
over
thing Trump would do.
We need to stop the amount that's coming over. We haven't got any more hotels for them. It's costing the taxpayer 8.5 million a day. No one wants that anymore. And it's not fair on infrastructure, schools and our way of life.
Let's take another call. Karen's in Aberdeen. Karen, the idea of asylum seekers, of migrants being housed in tents, what does that do to you?
I think it's a good idea because they are coming over here. They are getting the NHS free. They are getting the houses. People are living on the streets because of people like migrants coming over here and taking all the houses from people who need them, who live in this country, who were born in this country. Why should they have the...
Can I ask you, where did you get that information from, that migrants, and I'm talking about migrants, irregular migrants, are just walking into houses and getting everything free with the right to use the NHS? Where did you get that information from?
I've been told this. We've heard it.
I've heard it.
OK, let's hear from... Where did you get it from, Karen?
Just people. Come on, but it is true. It is true. They are coming... I've seen people in my town centre begging, who have got the money, who are still begging on the streets for money.
How do you know that?
OK.
Yeah, how do you know they've got money already? Or are you
because
saying...
No. We've seen people getting in cars, OK, after begging for money.
You've seen this?
Yes.
And what has that got to do with migrants living in tents?
Because they come over here, take everything from people. They take other people's jobs.
How do you know that these people are migrants? The people that beg and then get in cars?
Because, oh come on, they are. I can't. Oh, it's true. Come on. Most of them are.
It's true, come on, doesn't cut it. It doesn't work as evidence, Karen. What it feels like you're doing is stringing three things together and coming up with some kind of fantasy.
Can I help Karen out?
No. I'm sorry.
Go on, Karen.
I'm sorry. No, it isn't a fantasy. They come over here. They come over on the boats. People don't stop people coming over. The government have not done anything about it again as well.
OK, so Karen, they come over on boats, we get that bit, then they start begging, and then they leave after their days begging in a car. Is that what we're saying happens?
Yes.
I'd love to see your evidence for that. I really would, Karen, but you haven't provided it.
What was a really important point that Karen raised out, she said they come over and take people's jobs. Well, if only they were allowed to take people's jobs, they're not allowed to work. And perhaps we should do as they do in Canada, Australia, France, etc. Yes,
after 12 months.
In some countries, after as little as 6 months.
OK, Peter's in Birmingham. Peter, what do you reckon? The idea of migrants, asylum seekers, being placed in tents rather than hotel accommodation or other accommodation, what do you think?
Good morning. Yes, when you were saying about tents and all that and hotels, I'll put that aside for just one moment. But what I'm seeing in front of me is reality with migrants. We've got them at the hotel near us here, only down the road from my house. And basically, they're in that hotel there. And as I know, they get the Aspen cards, which are like £49 a week, and they get £8 weekly allowance for meals, which you can see online, Google, you can see it for yourself. And when they come out of that hotel, they're in the bookies. And they're spending that £49, like a Visa card, and they're doubling their money. Now, do you think they should basically spend a night in a tent when they're earning that serious amount of money in the bookies? And not only that, they're supplied phones by the government, and they're selling the phones in the bookies. And when I say phones, they've got iPhones here and there, supplied by the government. There's a yellow little marker on the back of the box, which I've seen, and proof of evidence, and it's fact.
Okay,
you see them phones and
Peter,
them,
you've,
and they're
you've seen, you've seen
money.
this. You've seen this happening. This is happening in your community. That they get this money, and you say they're going to the bookies with it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
and
widespread,
when I'm seeing it, they're doubling their money big time. And I'm looking at that there.
Okay.
And when I see my mum and dad, who are pensioners and have had their heating allowance took off them,
It-
and they're spending the money in the bookies.
Okay.
I think, Peter, what you're saying, and we don't feel we've been put first, the people of this country. That is the thing. And you can hear from some of the callers there, this is why Reform are doing well in the local...
Okay.
Because they
I
are
would say this is
listening to
cyclical.
the people.
Even when my parents came over in the 60s, people were saying exactly the same things. And that's when there was an empire that was coming.
But we have veterans that are
people said-
homeless on the streets
Yeah,
that
but
aren't
are you
being
prepared
helped.
to pay more taxes to help those veterans
and
to help those
those illegal
Are you prepared to pay
migrants are
more
being
taxes?
helped more than
We
our
are
local
going to have
veterans.
to leave it there, guys.
We only care about veterans when the...
Listen,